Have you ever wondered why some employees decide they need a union while others don't? By the end of this presentation, you'll understand not only how unions are formed, but also the important role HR plays in keeping workplaces productive and fair. To begin, let's answer a basic question. What is a labor union? A labor union is a group of employees who come together to have a stronger voice in the workplace. Instead of negotiating individually, workers join together to discuss important issues such as pay, benefits, working conditions, and job security. The main purpose of a union is to represent employees and help ensure they are treated fairly. By speaking with one collective voice, workers often have more influence when discussing workplace concerns with management. So, how do unions work? Union members elect representatives who negotiate with the employer on their behalf. These negotiations result in a legally binding contract called a collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, which outlines things like wages, benefits, work rules, and employee protections. It's also important to understand that labor unions operate within a legal framework. In the United States, employee rights related to unions are protected by the National Labor Relations Act of 1935, and those rights are enforced by the National Labor Relations Board, or NLRB. As we move through this presentation, we will look at how unions are formed, the rights employees have under the law, and the role HR plays in managing labor relations. Now let's look at some of the key benefits and drawbacks of unionization from both the employee and employer perspectives. For employees, one of the biggest advantages is the opportunity to earn higher wages and receive stronger benefits. Union members often have access to better health insurance, retirement plans, and job protections. Unions also provide a formal grievance process and give employees a collective voice when addressing work concerns. However, there are some drawbacks. Employees are usually required to pay union dues in some situations. Seniority may play a larger role in promotions or job assignments than individual performance. Some employees may also feel they have less flexibility when workplace rules are governed by a union contract. From the employer's perspective, unions can create more structured communication because management works with a single bargaining unit rather than addressing concerns individually. Unionized workplaces may also experience lower turnover and better retention of skilled employees. On the other hand, employers often face higher labor costs and less flexibility when making operational decisions. Union contracts can add administrative responsibilities, and disagreements during negotiation may lead to grievances, work stoppages, or even strikes. The important takeaway is that unions bring both advantages and challenges. Understanding both perspectives helps HR professionals make informed decisions and maintain positive relationships between employees and management. This slide focuses on the legal protections employees have under the National Labor Relations Act, or NLRA. One of the most important protections is the right to engage in protected concerted activity. This means employees can work together to address concerns about pay, hours, or working conditions, even if they are not a part of a union. The NLRA also gives employees what are known as Section 7 rights. These rights allow workers to form, join, or assist labor organizations and participate in collective bargaining if they choose. Just as importantly, employees also have the right not to join a union if they don't want to. Another important concept is the duty of fair representation. If a union represents a group of employees, it must represent all workers in that bargaining unit fairly and equally. regardless of whether each employee is a union member. Finally, the law protects employees from unfair labor practices. Employers cannot threaten, intimidate, or interfere with employees who are exercising their rights under the NLRA. The key takeaway from this slide is that labor laws are designed to protect employee choice and ensure that workers can exercise their rights without fear of retaliation. Let's take a look at how employees actually form a union. While the process can seem complicated, it generally follows four main steps. The first step is authorization cards. Employees who are interested in union representation sign cards showing their support. To move forward, at least 30% of employees in the bargaining unit must sign these cards. Next, the union files a petition with the National Labor Relations Board, or NLRB. Once the petition is submitted, the employer is officially notified that employees are seeking union representation. The third step is the election campaign. During this period, both the union and management have an opportunity to share information and explain their positions. The NLRB oversees the process to make sure it remains fair and that employees can make an informed decision. Finally, employees participate in a secret ballot election. If a majority of those voting choose union representation, the NLRB certifies the union. At that point, the employer is legally required to recognize the union and begin collective bargaining. For HR professionals, it's important to remain neutral, follow all labor laws, and ensure employees can exercise their rights without interference. Understanding each stage of the process helps organizations respond appropriately and stay compliant throughout a union campaign. Now let's focus on what happens after a union petition has been approved. The first step is defining the bargaining unit. The NLRB determines which employees will be included in the vote based on their job duties and classifications. This is important because only employees in the bargaining unit are eligible to participate in the election. Next comes the secret ballot election. Employees vote privately, which allows them to make their decision without pressure from either management or union representatives. To win, the union only needs a simple majority of the votes that are actually cast. Once the votes are counted, there are two possible outcomes. If the union receives the majority vote, the NLRB officially certifies it as the employee's bargaining representative. At that point, the employer is legally required to bargain in good faith with the union. If the union does not receive enough votes, the petition is dismissed and employees remain non-union. Either way, the election process is designed to ensure that employees have a fair and democratic way to decide whether they want union representation. For HR professionals, the key responsibility during this stage is maintaining compliance, communicating appropriately, and ensuring that employees can make their choice freely and without interference. Once a union is certified, the next step is collective bargaining, which is the process where union representatives and management negotiate the terms of employment. Both sides are legally required to bargain in good faith, meaning they must genuinely try to reach an agreement. The process begins with preparation. Both the union and management gather information, review priorities, and determine what they hope to achieve during negotiations. Next, the two sides exchange proposals. These proposals often cover important topics like wages, benefits, work schedules, and working conditions. After that comes the negotiation sessions. This is where most of the discussion takes place. Both sides meet multiple times, discuss their differences, and work toward compromises that meet the needs of employees while supporting the organization's goals. Finally, if an agreement is reached, it moves to ratification. Union members vote on the proposed contract, and once approved, it becomes the official agreement that both the union and employer must follow. The goal of collective bargaining is to create a fair agreement that benefits both employees and the organization while maintaining a productive working relationship. Now let's look at what employees and employers actually get from a collective bargaining agreement, or CBA. A CBA is a legally binding contract that typically lasts between 3 and 5 years and outlines the terms of employment for union members. One of the biggest areas covered is wages and pay. Union contracts often establish pay scales, scheduled raises, and other compensation guidelines. Research has shown that union workers often earn higher wages than non union workers in similar jobs. Another important area is benefits. Many contracts include details about health insurance, retirement plans, paid time off, and other benefits that are important to employees and their families. CBAs also address working conditions. This can include work schedules, overtime rules, workplace safety standards, and seniority rights. Having these expectations clearly defined helps reduce confusion and create consistency in the workplace. Finally, most contracts include a grievance and arbitration process. This gives employees and employers a formal way to resolve disputes when disagreements arise. Instead of relying on personal opinions, both sides follow a structured process outlined in the contract. Overall, a collective bargaining agreement serves as a roadmap for the employment relationship by clearly defining expectations, responsibilities, and protections for both employees and management. As we near the end of the presentation, it's important to understand the role HR and management play in labor relations. One of the biggest misconceptions is that HR only gets involved when a union campaign starts. In reality, HR's role begins long before that. The best way to reduce the likelihood of unionization is to create a workplace where employees feel respected, heard, and treated fairly. The first responsibility is to build trust early. This means maintaining open communication, offering competitive pay and benefits, and addressing employee concerns before they become a larger problem. When employees trust leadership, they are less likely to feel they need outside representation. Next, AR and managers must know the law. Understanding the National Labor Relations Act, or in LRA, is critical. Managers need proper training so they understand employee rights and avoid actions that could violate labor laws. Another key responsibility is to communicate lawfully. During union organizing efforts, employers can share factual information and answer questions, but they cannot threaten employees, make promises to exchange for votes, or spy on union activities. Staying within legal boundaries is essential. Finally, if employees choose to unionize, HR becomes a partner in the bargaining process. HR helps management analyze proposals, understand financial impacts, and ensure that any agreement reached can realistically be implemented. At the end of the day, HR serves as the bridge between employees and management. Whether a workplace is unionized or not, HR's goal is to foster positive employee relations, ensure legal compliance, and support a productive work environment for everyone. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with three key takeaways from today's presentation. First, labor unions exist because employees want a stronger voice in the workplace. Whether it's wages, benefits, job security, or working conditions, unions give employees the opportunity to work together and negotiate as a group rather than individually. Second, understanding labor law is essential for HR professionals and managers. The National Labor Relations Act protects employees' rights to organize, bargain collectively, and participate in protected workplace activities. Knowing these rights helps organizations stay compliant while also building trust with employees. Third, and probably the most important takeaway, is that strong employee relations are the best labor relations strategy. When employees feel respected, heard, treated fairly, and compensated competitively, organizations create an environment where trust grows and workplace issues can often be addressed before they become larger concerns. At the end of the day, unions are not just a legal issue, they're a people issue. The way leaders communicate, respond to concerns, and build workplace culture can have a lasting impact on employee satisfaction and organizational success. As future HR professionals and business leaders, our goal isn't simply to react when challenges arise. Our goal is to create workplaces where employees feel valued, supported, and motivated to contribute their best work every day. Thank you all for your time and attention. I hope this presentation has given you a better understanding of labor unions, employee rights, collective bargaining, and the important role HR plays throughout the process.